From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. Live and direct from Santa Monica, California. We'll go over the latest details about your Build Back Better Act. The President of the United States reassured the American people during the State of the Union that all those incredible checks are going out. But what about the CR for stimulus? Breaking news overnight as President Biden wants some of that money for something else again. Will we get it? I have the latest details across the board. Then, the pinch at the pump, inflation, out of control oil prices, and your SS 300. What is Jay Powell doing to ease inflation? And why SS 300 is the salvation that's right around the corner. Then, we'll be looking back at the situation that's unfolding overseas as oil prices surge overnight as the Kremlin tacks down and pushes forward. Next target, Odessa. Overnight, the concerns struggling and the concerns growing as wheat prices surge as well. Oil prices not alone, and the Ukrainian defense is now battling destruction in several towns. I have the latest details across the board. Back in the United States, oil prices out of control, and are they stabilizing or are they getting worse? And what are the solutions in today's recording? Playing time, I'm going to look at how you can get big sums of money. Viewers getting $5, $10, $15, $20,000 this week. It's huge. It's great news. And it's big money. It's available across the board. And I have all the incredible details in this jam-packed afternoon's broadcast. It's a preview of our 1-hour Evenings LA show in prime time tonight. And tonight we have a lot, but here is a preview in afternoons. We'll be covering the Build Back Better Act passing, CR for stimulus passing, checks going in, going out, big checks gotten by viewers. We'll be looking at Brent crude prices. We'll be looking at inflation and SS 300, and certainly we'll be looking at the destruction in Ukraine overnight and the potential destruction by the end of the week. And what is next on the horizon for Vladimir Putin? It's a major recording. It's a preview of tonight's 1-hour broadcast of Evenings LA at 5 o'clock. But here's afternoon, and here is the latest details. And we start right now from the shores of Santa Monica. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. The number of Ukrainian citizens who have fled to Poland is now amassing to nearly 1 million. And industries not just oil, but now wheat are at jeopardy. Beautiful town of Odessa is the next target of Vladimir Putin. What does this mean for world markets? What does this mean for your money? I have the latest details coming up later in this recording. And the big money that viewers are getting across the board, and you can get it as well. $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Viewers are getting checks every single day from this channel, despite what Vladimir Putin is doing overseas. Stay to the very end. We got a big recording. But first, let's go into the great news as the President of the United States reassures the American people in that State of the Union address this week that the Build Back Better Act will pass. He said more than I predicted, and he said all those incredible checks are going out. So, what's the latest details and update on that? And what did he say about CR for stimulus overnight? I'll have the latest on that in this recording. Then we'll be going into SS 300. The great news coming in from Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, reassuring the American people that he is not going to come in strong on bringing down inflation just yet. It's great news, especially for SS 300. But first, let's start with Build Back Better Act and the status of where it is today. It's really good. The status is unchanged and actually more enforced because the President of the United States, during the State of the Union address this week, said that Build Back Better Act will pass and that all the incredible checks need to go out. And what are those checks? Let's look at them one at a time. They are 3 clusters of checks and 3 add-ons that amount to about $15,000 to $60,000 of checks. In that first cluster of checks, they got in there hazard pay for my essential workers. 1 more year. Established under third stimulus and broadened under fourth stimulus. $4,000 of elder care, got it in there. $4,000 of care for young children. $3,600 checks for young children. The $550 check for the Pell Grant. The home repairs, if you live in a low-income community, $12,500 checks for the purchase of new electric vehicles and other checks across the board. That is the first of three add-on checks, the first of three clusters of checks, but there's also three add-ons of checks. And the first add-ons of checks comes from here in Southern California. Maxine Waters, our legislator here from the shores of Southern California in Santa Monica, you're looking at our beautiful beaches here in the coastline, got this provision in there, a little bit less than $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. This is money that would be given to the seller in your name at the time of escrow by the federal government. Wow. It is the first of three clusters of checks from Build Back Better Act that was added in there and are staying in there, says the President of the United States during that State of the Union address. Well, what is then the next cluster of three clusters of checks? The next cluster of checks brings us to paid leave and home repair. Paid leave and home repair is huge because millions of Americans need that paid leave, and it was actually name-checked by the President of the United States during the State of the Union address. He actually said, pass Build Back Better Act because we need paid leave in there. Paid leave is if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness, and it pays an enormous amount of money. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000 annual salary, about $800 a week. And $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. 4 to 6 weeks per year, and yeah, that is huge sums of money. Now, when we look at the home repairs, this is to weatherize your home across the board. There is also a second cluster of checks to be added, a second add-on of checks to be added on top of that, and that comes from Bob Casey. $250 billion of free home health care added in there and staying in there for seniors and people on disabilities. This is a campaign promise from Joe Biden, and it's going in there, and it's in there, and staying in there. The third cluster checks gets even better. In that third cluster checks from the Build Back Better Act, we have checks for seniors and checks for free internet and even checks for farmers. Let's look at those incredible checks in that third cluster, starting right now. In that third cluster, we have seniors checks, free internet. Now, if you need free internet right now, you can reach out to the volunteers of the community page that can help you get it. It's been around since the end of third stimulus. But there's also checks for farmers, checks for independent contractors, checks for nutrition when a kid is not in school, $65 a month, and then seniors actually getting their checks mentioned by the president during the State of the Union address. Two on the House. First, the Medicaid gap fix, and then the hearing checks. The Senate side adding dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for the course of when the senators are adding checks to this incredible recon because of the other checks they've had to add in there are, of course, MSC. MSC is a body of checks to be added to the fourth stimulus recon that already has $15,000 to $60,000 of checks in there, and this would just be additional sums of checks on top of that. So what are MSCs? How much do you get? Who gets it? How do you receive them? And what are these automatic adult checks? These are among the other checks that would be added to the Build Back Better Act that the President of the United States said is going to pass and going to become law. MSC are monthly IRS stimulus checks that would come out from IRS to you if you're an adult. And the eligibility the legislators represent to the viewership of this channel would be the same as third stimulus check. They represent, they're putting in there, the senators, to tens of thousands of viewers of this channel since last spring. Who gets it? If you got a third, you get a fourth. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Near a couple $150,000 less, you get it as well. Double it. Family of four, you get it as well. Quadruple it. Here's our family of four. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Rail benefit, you get it as well. Adult dependents also get it. It's not income. It's not taxable. It's not California stimulus. California, we get an electric surfboard instead. And it's not refundable. So that person said, my fiance says I have to pay it back. No, but look at the return policy and engagement ring. I think you're still within the 30-day window. And there you go. How much? $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, says the legislators to represent to the viewership of this channel. That is MSC, one of the many checks that the senators vowed to add to the Build Back Better Act that the president said in the State of the Union address is passing and will become law. Great news. He said more than I ever anticipated him to say during that State of the Union address. For him to actually say it's going to pass and that he wants all those incredible sums of money to go out is actually more reassuring than I ever anticipated. Coming up later in this video, we'll be looking at what's happening on the ground in Ukraine, and then we'll be looking back at how you can get money across the land. Those details coming up, and they are shocking. But first, I want to continue with where we are right now with your money, and that is CR for Stimulus 1.0. Breaking news today on Afternoons LA. I need to tell you the good and the bad. And what is my opinion of it? I think it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. In fact, I told you yesterday it was coming. And what is it? The president wants some of your CR money. Again. If you remember this challenge since last week, he asked for it last week. They said no. Then during the State of the Union, he said, I want some of it again. They said no. Today, he sent another letter. Says, I want some of the money. Guess what I think they're going to say? No. Now, let's go over what's going on. The continuing resolution, which has an inherent deadline of just a few days from now, has $150 billion, should be $1.5 trillion of dedicated funds, discretionary funds, to be used per negotiations between Republicans and Democrats. What's a continuing resolution? A continuing resolution is a budget bill to fund the federal government every 3 to 6 months. And this is where you can get a potential $2,000 stimulus check in there. Over the last 5 weeks, we've advocated for inclusion of a stimulus check in there. And everything seemed perfectly fine until late last week when the president said, I want some of that money. Then the senator said, we're not giving you any of that money. Then yesterday, during the a few days ago, during the State of the Union address, I said, he mentioned he's going to come and ask for some money. And I said, that's sort of a jab at CR for stimulus, isn't it? And I said, you see the wink in his eye? I think he's watching me. He wants a t-shirt. He wants some muddle blue. He wants to change the color wheel. He's just watching. And he's like, I want some money. I'll be coming to ask you some money. And I thought maybe he's facetious. Maybe he's joking. No, he's not joking. He came back today and said, I want some of that CR money again. This is the third attempt. Is he going to get it? I don't think he's going to get it. So let's go over the details of what's going on right now. CR for stimulus, $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. And what is CR for stimulus? It was a creation of me on this channel in 2020. I made history. You made history. In 2020, we had gotten a first stimulus check early in the year. We used it up. We needed more money. So we were told that the second stimulus package was in the works. Negotiations were unfolding between Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, on behalf of the Democrats, and Steve Mnuchin on behalf of the Republicans. Went on for months. No deal. And so finally we said, we have to have a solution to this. I thought of this solution. I created the solution. I came up with the invention. CR for stimulus, the idea to put a stimulus check and then continuing resolution. It's a small bill that funds the federal government every 3 to 6 months. Small, bipartisan support, inherent deadline just a few days out. I advocated, you advocated, I made the creation, you made the avocation on social media, and it became history. I made history, you as the Purple Power family of this channel made history. Millions of Americans got a $600 stimulus check in December 2020 because it was inserted into a CR, and that was my creation, and you advocated for it. We made history. Well, 4 weeks ago on this channel, I said, you want me to bring it back? And viewers said yes. It lines up perfectly. Another CR early March, just a few days away from now. $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds in there, and bipartisan support, inherent deadline. Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate negotiating over the last few days. So what's the latest details on that? I have it coming up after the commercial break. Then we'll be looking at CR for Stimulus 2 and 3.0, where it is right today, and how it is still on path. Then we'll be looking at the great news that came in from Jay Powell yesterday. If you missed it on Evenings LA, our 1 hour special broadcast every night, you want to watch tonight as well. I'll go more into detail of why your benefits, if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and Veterans benefits, can go up $200 a month if this guy makes a phone call. Because the other guy, Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, came in with great news yesterday. I have the latest details in the second half. Meantime, we'll be looking at the other items that impact your wallet and certainly impacts any potential stimulus you get. And the issue is the price of Brent crude. Swirling, out of control, day after day, getting worse. Where is it right now? I have the latest details as the impact on it because of Vladimir Putin's active aggressions continue to grow. We'll be looking back at what happened last night on Evenings LA, a very hard recording to make, as this was the beautiful town of Gershon, that at the time of recording, I didn't know its status. Tonight, we do know its status. But then, the next question is what's next? Odessa. Of a preview of what's happening tonight on Evenings LA, and sadly, a preview of where Vladimir Putin's heading next. Then we'll look at the refugee situation in Poland and where it's unfolding by the minute. And then, of course, we'll be getting you money. You need money, and say the very end of this video. Viewers got thousands of dollars. Another success story came in overnight, and folks, it's not $200. It's tens of thousands of dollars. You need that money because you're feeling the pinch of the pump You're feeling the pinch of inflation, and you're feeling the situation unfolding. Of new commentary about what I anticipate, and then more of a preview of tonight's major 1-hour broadcast of Evenings LA at 5 p.m. It's all coming up after the commercial break. Stay with me as Afternoons LA continues right now from the shores of Santa Monica, California with your big money. Those details and more coming up in just 60 seconds. But first, if you need money and you need assistance from the community page, and you've tried to get it yourself, but you need a little bit more help, here's a little bit about the community page located in the link under this video's description, along with a membership link. I'll see you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And good afternoon, everybody. We continue in the second half live and direct from the shores of Santa Monica, California. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. In this big afternoon's broadcast, a preview tonight's 1-hour special report on Evenings LA at 5 o'clock. Don't miss that show. It's the most watched financial program in prime time in the United States right tonight. And the latest details and a preview of that recording. But first, we're going to go into the big money that is happening for you right across the land right now in Build Back Better and CR for Stimulus. We're going to go right into that in the second half of this video. What did the president do overnight? And what is happening with SS300? What is happening with inflation? What is happening with your checks? And also, what is happening with the price of gasoline at the pump? Then, could the price of wheat be the next casualty for U.S. Americans and the price of those consumer goods as well? It's brand new, and I have a preview of what's happening with that as well tonight. But first, I want you part of this family. What are you watching? You're watching LALATE, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, with the number 1 most watched financial show in prime time, Evenings LA at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Tell your friends and family to come on over to watch that show every night at 5 o'clock. It's one of our many new shows every single day throughout the day, and I have more of a preview of that coming up right now. Build Back Better Act will get past the President of the United States said in the State of the Union address, but CR for Stimulus is the opportunity to get us a check sooner. Why? $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. 1. Bipartisan support, inherent deadline, weeks of negotiations, House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats, done. Last week, I told you the president tried to take some of the money for himself. He came and said, I want some of the money for COVID. The Republicans and Democrats both shot him down. You heard me right. Republicans and Democrats shot him down. Of course, the restaurant union tried to come and get some, because the lobster was not good enough. They asked for some of the money. They were shot down. And I told you to keep the airlines tell the airlines not to watch this channel, because they'll go asking for some of the money. So what happened during the State of the Union address? The president said, and by the way, I'm going to be coming asking for some more money. And he gave a wink, and I told you as soon as that broadcast aired, the State of the Union address, I said, he's talking about CR for Stimulus. He's been watching me. He's at $1.5 trillion. I want some of that money. I thought he was being facetious. I thought he was joking. He was not. The breaking news overnight is he's trying to take some of your CR for Stimulus money. Joe, come on already. All right, here's a little bit of commentary. Here's a little bit of reporting. First, the White House immediately sent over a letter today to Congress from the Office of Management and Budget of Federal Agency, asking for the following funds. First, $32.5 billion of emergency funds for COVID, which includes $10 billion for overseas issues. I urge the Congress to address these critical and urgent needs in times of a comprehensive government funding bill ahead of its deadline. Okay, my commentary: get your hands off our money. Can I make it more blunt than that? I think I may. And you're too darn late. Okay, first of all, Joe, you tried this last week. Republicans and Democrats in your same party said no. Then we're all ready to go, and you're doing it again. You have other vehicles to do this to get this money. And moreover, if you've had a COVID issue, you had a COVID issue in the month of February. You could have asked the money more vigorously. Why am I reading on camera now, on this day in March, a letter from you at the 11th hour? This is mismanagement. This is pestering. This is CR harassment. Stay away from our money. You can get this money somewhere else. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen. Now, and remember, these are discretionary funds. So the discretion is at the hands of the cabinet members. So I hope they listen to the voice of reason. And the voice of reason, who is the voice of reason? Us, the Purple Power Caucus. So pick up the phone and really advocate, because we are at the edge of the finish line. You want to advocate to those legislators saying, hey, make sure you spend the money the right way. $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. Don't take it for COVID. You've had $6 trillion for COVID. And if you need more money for COVID, you should have gotten it weeks ago. Don't come taking our money for CR for Stimulus 1.0. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen. But I just have to tell you it's out there. So you see the story, you understand. I don't think it's a factor. All right, CR for Stimulus 1.2 and 3.0. The House bill and the Senate bill merging, but no inherent deadline. So the issue with that is when the House Democrats pass an economic piece of legislation to give you more money at this time of economic uncertainty. The Republican senators did the same, led by Todd Young, says we're going to merge it with Pete Aguilar's stuff, Democrat House, together in the Senate. But inherent deadline, not right there. So the next item at issue would be the opportunity to raise your benefits up $300 a month with SS300. SS300 effectuates raising your benefits up based upon higher inflation rates. What's at issue? At issue is during her run for president, Elizabeth Warren wanted to replace COLA with inflation. And you want to replace COLA, your current benchmark, with inflation when inflation's high. It's at the highest level now, but it's not going to stay high because we can't keep it high, and a person needs to bring it down. And who is that person? Here he is. His name is Jay Powell, and Jay Powell is head of our Federal Reserve. His task is to bring down inflation because you can't have inflation high indefinitely. Very simple. You want your benefits tied to inflation now before Jay Powell fixes it. Because once your benefits go up, they never go down. Inflation is now tracking about 7.5% last December. We're waiting for the January number, probably about 8%, my prediction. So you want it tied to it. On Evenings LA, I'm going to go more into detail about these numbers, but the great news is that yesterday Jay Powell said exactly what I predicted him to say, and actually a little bit better. As head of the Federal Reserve, his job is to bring down inflation, but also give himself some wiggle room to not put himself in a box because he has Vladimir Putin playing economic games with the world economies. And so what did Jay Powell say yesterday on Capitol Hill? The best comments I think I've ever heard from him in over a year. He said that we have a very fluid situation in Ukraine, and that I understand I have a lot of different ways to reduce inflation, but I don't want to do it too hard or too fast because of how fluid the situation is in Ukraine. What are Jay Powell's solutions and tools and options? He has 5 meetings in 5 months of what's called the FOMC meetings. The concept is to raise interest rates at each respective meeting. 5 meetings, 5 raises. But before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, we were potentially looking at 7 raises in 5 meetings and potentially larger raises per meeting. Well, what did Jay Powell say yesterday? Calm down. Don't worry. I'm on top of it. I'm going to do the basic at the moment. 1 raise per meeting of a 1/4 basis point. And if it's not enough, And if the situation's changing, we will pivot. So he came in exactly where I said he was going to say, at a quarter basis point in the next few days for the first meeting. And he actually gave us guidance for the next meetings thereafter. We're staying at a quarter at the moment because it's too fluid because of Ukraine. And if it's not enough, I'll do more later. But I'm going to give you guidance. I'm coming in relatively on point, tame. I'm not coming in too strong. It's incredible, great news. So that's why Joe Biden needs to make the phone call and pick up the phone and call the Social Security Administrator. You've been so great on social media, folks. You have absolutely been incredible as the Purple Power Caucus. Tagging the president, saying, hey, pick up the phone and call. What are we referring to, this call? What type of call? Your benefits are tied to COLA. And that tying to COLA is a determination done by the Social Security head. It's not done by act of Congress. It's not done by executive order. And all that Joe Biden has to do is do what he promised to do during his campaign trail and after he became president. During his run for president, he adopted Elizabeth Warren's policies, which were to replace COLA with inflation. And then when he became president-elect, he published it at joebiden.com. It's still there. Your benefits would be swapped out with a new benchmark of inflation instead of COLA. This is why it's so important, because guess what? When he wrote that at joebiden.com, we didn't have inflation. We didn't have an energy crisis. And now your value of your dollar is worth less because of inflation. With 8 or some states, 12% inflation at issue, Joe Biden needs to make that phone call to the Social Security Administrator head and say, hey, it's Joe, you're president. I gave you the job. Can you please swap out COLA with inflation? I encourage you to do it. It'll help millions of Americans, hardworking Americans or retirees or people on benefits, veterans, to give them additional $200 a month. It's very simple, Joe. He's done it before. He's done it with SNAP. When he picked up the phone and said, you're not paying enough money for food, make the phone call. It doesn't take out funds from something else. It doesn't create economic uncertainty or economic instability. In fact, it stabilizes millions of Americans' wallets. So that's the status on SS300. I'll have more about it tonight on Evenings LALATE, that special 1 hour broadcast you don't want to miss at 5 o'clock tonight. Now, price of Brent crude is very important. Brent crude is the price of gasoline at the pump. Have you looked at how much you're paying at the pump? Jump in the live chat right now and tell me how much you're paying right today. And it probably is different than it was yesterday. This is the situation unfolding by the minute, by the hour, and I have breaking news about this number and breaking news about why there's a potential solution on the horizon, but it needs to be brokered. What's at issue right now is that the price of Brent crude is what we call the terminology for determining how much gasoline costs when shipped and distributed internationally. Brent crude oil. Back in the United States, you see the price of the pump at the gas station yourself. You see the impact of it. So where are we right now, and why is it out of control? Well, the reason why it's out of control is because of the Vladimir Putin acts of aggression. Those acts of aggressions cause Russian oil to be out of circulation. And because they're out of circulation, then because there's less gasoline, when there's less gasoline, the price goes up. So what are the solutions? Well, some countries produce gasoline, and so they have some stored. And then some countries don't produce enough gasoline or any gasoline, and they import from Russia. So they can't get it from Russia. Where do they get it from? And if they produce it, can they ramp up production? And what does that number say as well? Let me tell you the breaking news today. The breaking news today is we know a little bit more about where oil is available to solve the problem. People think that oil is just in really one place or two places. It's a little bit more fluid than that, and it's actually not very complicated. Russia's not the major producer of oil, but is a major provider of oil for countries like Italy. When you take Russia out of the equation, and their barrels are no longer in circulation, the price of oil goes up, and it's gone up. On day one, the situation unfolded. Now, let me tell you why this is so important for you before I go into the details. I can get you $20,000 of stimulus checks. I can get you $100,000 of rent assistance because of COVID. But it could be worthless if the price of gasoline at the pump goes to $10 a gallon. It could be worthless if you lose your job, if the economy goes into recession, if the economy goes into stagflation. It could be worthless across the board. And when would that happen? If gasoline tracks higher. How high can gasoline track before we go into economic meltdown? It's a big issue of contention. But many analysts believe that we cannot sustain more than $100 a barrel for Brent crude for more than 6 months at the current inflation rate. Where are we right now? We're above $100. I'll get to that in a second. Where are some of the predictions? 2 days ago, I said some of the predictions were 110. Today, some of the predictions are 150. Yeah, it's getting worse by the minute. How has the price of Brent crude trended on this channel in the last few days over the weekend? Well, the first day when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, it shot up to 105. Then it came down to about 101. The president released some oil. We got down to 94, stayed there for about 10 seconds, and then we shot up to 105. Yes, 2 days ago we went from 105 to 16 to 111. Today, folks, 120. I mean, yesterday, I think it was by evenings, we were at like a 111, but we had gotten, actually yesterday we were 106 to 113, but we came down by the evenings, we were at 107. At the time of this recording, which is made earlier in the day, and oil's generally higher in the day, so while it's an afternoon's broadcast, I tape it earlier in the day, Brent has gone to 120, and it's just incredible. I mean, 120 in no less than 6 hours since you last saw me on camera when it was 107. And over the weekend, 100. And I just told you, we can't sustain more than 100 for 6 months. So the issue at hand is there's new suggestions as to where we could potentially have a solution for this and where we may not have a solution for it. The way we get this solved is increasing production or getting more gasoline in the pipeline. Where do we get it from? Either countries that have it releasing it, or countries that can produce more, producing more. So here are among the solutions. First, the United States can produce more gasoline. We have more capability to produce more gasoline out of West Texas. More gasoline means our prices come down, our economy stays stable, our price of gasoline is better. We protect ourselves on that horizon. Have we done that? Not yet, but the great news is that during the State of the Union address, the president, after the State of the Union address, the president said he would consider that option. What's at issue? The progressives are out of touch on this one, folks. They're out of touch. They have always said, don't produce more oil, produce more electric vehicles so we can go spend $80,000 on an electric pickup truck. No, that's out of touch. We need to stabilize the economy now, and we can fix the environment a few months from now when Vladimir Putin is potentially out of the equation. That is one solution, is ramp up our production of gasoline in West Texas. Very simple for us. A little bit more complicated is our partner countries, everything from Italy to France. They don't necessarily produce a lot of oil. They import a lot of oil. So their oil is now no longer part of the equation because they get it from Russia, many of them. So where would they get the oil from? Initially, last weekend, the president brokered deals with countries like Japan and South Korea and China to release some of their oil. It ain't enough. It ain't enough. We need more oil. Now, here's something you're going to hear for the first time on this broadcast. And you're going to see more of it tonight on Evenings I Like, because it's a very, very elaborate discussion. But the impact of this oil crisis is not going to be felt until a few more weeks from now. Because the oil that's currently arriving in countries was bought and shipped and put on barges, oil barges, back in January. So that impact is not felt till March, when suddenly there ain't any oil on the barge because no one bought it, because it's not available. Supply chain issues, no Russian oil, won't be felt until a few weeks from now. So the issue is where to get the oil from our neighboring country, for our neighboring countries, because we can't produce enough for them. Where do we get their oil? OPEC and what's called OPEC Plus had a meeting overnight. And at issue is United Arab Emirates and Kuwait. And United Arab Emirates has been a partner of this country for many, many years and has the opportunity to solve the solution. Did they? No. I am unhappy. United Arab Emirates has a double problem. The first problem is they have a lot of gasoline stored, so they could flood our market, flood the Italian market, flood the French market, and everyone's prices would come down. We would be okay. The problem is that they have to first release the oil because they can't ramp up more production, because if they ramp up more production, where are they going to store it? They're at storage capacity, meaning they store their storage facilities at capacity, so they can't ramp up production until they get that items out of storage and released. The problem is that OPEC Plus, which is a different consortium than just OPEC, met overnight and they agreed to stick to their plan of a modest output of gasoline in April. Basically, they refused to release more oil. In a time of economic debacle, potentially, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait refused to release some of their massive storages of oil that could bring down the price of gasoline and then ramp up production. You can't ramp up production until you release the oil that's stored. And so the White House, and this is where Joe Biden needs to do this, needs to get these countries that have been some of our partners, like United Arab Emirates, to release some of this oil. Because if you don't release this oil to our partnering countries like Italy, it's going to get very bad very quickly. We can stabilize our economy, but our economy will become destabilized if countries we do business with also go into a deep recession right across the board. At the moment, the situation is trending very badly, folks, on this situation. Many analysts are now predicting 2023 and 2024 to be recessionary years if the situation unfolds by the minute. And guess what? On tonight's evening's LA, I'm going to be going over another situation. That other situation is that when we look at this situation unfolding in Ukraine, there are other industries that are going to impact us at home. And those other industries are wheat and steel. Those industries are going to be impacted dramatically because those agrarian environments are about to be destroyed by Vladimir Putin's acts of aggressions. Coming up later in this video, I'll be looking at the new concern, Odessa. You're looking at the beautiful opera house of Odessa. This is how Odessa looks today. It may not look that way by this weekend. Meantime, I sadly look back at the story that I reported last night, later in this video, of what happened in Gershon. This is the beautiful Black Sea town of Gershon. It's likely not to look like that today. And what is happening with the refugee situation overseas. But first, let's get you some money. It's time to get you some money. And the important thing is that viewers have listened and learned and have understood how money is available and how this channel gets you the money. What is this money? Get a pen and paper ready. It's third stimulus. And viewers have had big success stories this week, and I had another success story overnight. Third stimulus, which is rent, utilities, mortgages, and more, is paying viewers of this channel $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 every single day. Have you gotten money from this channel this week? Well, get your pen and paper ready. Here's a brand new success story. First, I'm going to give you one success story. Then I'm going to show you how to get the money. And then I'm going to show you some other success stories. Lorraine C. overnight said, "Hey, Ally, I found out the program I qualified is 70% off my rent for the next 9 years. And then it'll be permanent for the rest of my lifetime." She got a deduction of her rent, 70% for the next 9 years, and then permanent thereafter because of this channel. That is incredible. Now, if you watched Evenings LA last night, you saw that Nisi, who's a longtime viewer of this channel, she got $30,000 from this last year. Last weekend, she got $10,000. Last weekend, another $10,000. And then by last night's show, she got another $2,000. This is what we do, folks. Hey, I just got another $1,900 for my light bill. Keeps on growing. Thank you so much. She is killing it. In 1 week, she has gotten nearly $12,000 from this channel. It's time for you to get that money as well. So pull out a pen and paper, get that membership newsletter in front of you. If you're not a member, become a member. The link is under the video. You get that purple emoji of a purple hawk next to your name. I want you to get these big sums of money because cash is king. No one cares what the cash is called so long as you get it as lots of zeros behind it. And how do you get this money? Let's take notes. You're going to reach out to the following 6 places: your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must put multiple applications on file, and you must do multiple rounds. I'll go over that in a second. Open that membership newsletter, become a member. The link is under the video, and rely on those nonprofits because those nonprofits really help you get those big sums of money sometimes when you have an issue locally across the board. Now, when we look at those rounds, what are we talking about? We're trying to get a round right now for several months. And the success stories from the viewers of this channel understand what we're talking about with these rounds. At least, let's use Nisi, for example. Last year, she got several months. Then I started making this recording again, asking people to get another round in early January. She got a few more months. And then she got money thereafter. But let's look at the viewers in the last 24 to 48 hours and how they've taken my version of round and just made it, a lifetime. When I talk about round, I'm talking about, if you're watching this video now when it debuts in March, I'm talking about March, April, May, at least, and maybe June and July. Average viewer gets 3 to 5 months per round at the time when they start it. And then you do it again. Viewers got it when it became law in 2021. Then they got it last summer. Then they got it last winter. Now you get another round. But my viewers always take everything and just sort of put it on caffeine. Here's Bill Garacidi overnight. He says, hey, I got rent paid for a year. That's not a round. That's just the whole year. I just love my viewers. My viewers take the information I teach them, and they just like, round. I just want a lot of rounds. Just bring lots of rounds, so long as it's not Russian vodka. Just lots of rounds. Bring me lots of rounds. So Bill Garrity got a whole year. I mean, just incredible. Karen Phillips, she got 3 months and 3 utilities. I'll feature it tonight on Evenings LA. Bob Bacon, he got 3 more months of rent. Here is Brian Donahue. Great. He got his second round for 5 more months. So there you go. That's on the high end, and that probably means he got 5 months the first time. So he's like 10 months of an entire year. He's just doing the whole year. He's just doing the whole year. My viewers are killing it. And, when we talk about a month of rent, it's $1,200, $1,500. So these are big numbers. These are $10,000. Here's Karen. She got $40,000 last week, and there's Nisi. She got $10,000. Let me give you a sad update on what happened since Evenings LA broadcast last night, and give you a preview of what's happening tonight on Evenings LA as well. In preparing to go on air on these videos, it's it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. And you obviously see the type of imagery I try to show you and the type of imagery I try not to show you. And last night when I taped Evenings LA, really right before it aired, almost minutes before I aired, I told you that Ukrainian officials said that the beautiful port town of Gershon was still within Ukrainian control. That's one issue, who controls it. The other issue is, what does it look like? And Russia said it had taken it, and Western reporting had said Russia had potentially taken it as well. Well, let me show you what Gershon was shown on Evenings LA last night to look like, which was what it looked potentially like before that time of that recording. This is what the beautiful port town of Gershon looked like, potentially, last weekend. It's a beautiful, important town, and it's not small. It's a port town 120 miles from Odessa, with a population of 300,000 wonderful, educated, beautiful people. And it's on the Black Sea. Look how gorgeous it is. Well, tonight it is in Russian control. It's been desecrated. And it's likely just a horrible sight. And you can see some of the imagery on social media. Russia has taken the town. Now, the issue is what's next. Tonight on Evenings LA, which will be taped after the time of this recording, and I'll have the latest update as well, is this town. It's Odessa. It's really almost the crown jewel of the entire region. Founded by Catherine the Great in the 1700s, it was the crown jewel of the Russian Empire and a port of the Soviet Union. It was part of the Byzantine Empire, and it really is on the edge of the Black Sea. It is very close to Gershon, which we saw last night. Gershon, which is now under Russian control, is only 120 miles from Odessa, and Russian troops have also pushed to Mykolaiv, which is 45 miles to the north, and that is a site of destruction. There was an attack on Odessa before the time of this recording, which was, and of course, let me tell you why this is so important for you. What's important for you is that and important for the act of aggression and important for the world events is that Odessa is a major port city, and it's the survival of Ukraine to exist needs these ports. Los Angeles, if you shut down the port of Los Angeles, I mean, I can't imagine how Los Angeles would ever operate. So the concept is that Vladimir Putin is trying to take Ukraine's biggest port city of Odessa to create economic destruction to the society, and the bombings continue across the board. Before the time of this recording, just minutes ago, an Estonian-owned cargo ship called Halt, it's not Ukraine, but it's Estonian-owned, was blown up off the port of Odessa by Russian officials, say Ukrainian intelligence. The situation of Odessa is very important because while it's not militarily significant, it's further positioned to the southwest, and it's along an area of the Black Sea, which is near where the Crimean Peninsula was annexed by Russia in 2014. So it's very, very fluid tonight. And while our prayers last night were with the people of Kherson, that has now been desecrated, the prayers of our family tonight, the Purple Power community tonight, are with the people of Odessa. And it's spectacular opera house you're looking at right now, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, these are gorgeous towns. These are not small towns. Odessa has 300,000 people. Odessa, I don't know how many, I think Odessa is in the hundreds of thousands of people. Gershon had 300,000. Some of these capitals have millions of people. Let's look at the refugee situation right now. Refugee situation has grown from 500,000 yesterday to 1 million. Many of these towns are in the millions to several hundreds of thousands. Women and children are fleeing by the minute, by the hour from Ukraine. We could have multi-millions of refugees within just days in the Poland and Romanian border, as Vladimir Putin's active aggressions are far from over. Finally, my commentary tonight, and I want to make it short and brief because I don't want to take it to a level that I can't personally hold it. I think that the reality check is starting to come in for some Americans. I think some Americans may have thought that this was a 2-day thing or a 3-day thing. This is not a 2-day event. This is not a 3-day event. Whether you look at it from a financial standpoint, or you look at it as an emotional standpoint, or you look at it as a social standpoint, this is not going to be something that's 2 days or 3 days. You saw people that just thought, buy the dip. I mean, just so insanely ridiculous. Buy the dip 2 days ago. Oh, yeah, Russia's over. No, the reality of the situation is very, very fluid. And I appreciate all the love and support that we have as a community and a family of this channel come together, because in a time like this, that you really have to stay hard to bone. And because of my health, because of your love, we have to stay strong in delivering the breadth of reporting that shows the accuracy, that shows the concern, shows the breadth of coverage, and also shows all the levels. And I've been so proud of you as viewers. You've blown me away. And I look forward to seeing you tonight on Evenings LA. It's a 1-hour broadcast, and hopefully I can get it all done in 1 hour. But there's a lot of stories. And as I've always said, if you have another social story that you believe needs to be covered that I missed, because a lot going on, send me a private message on social media. Also, send me your success stories for rent assistance because of COVID. I'll feature those as well. Our prayers tonight, as we go into an Evenings LA, I'll see you at 5 o'clock, are for the people of Odessa and everyone in Ukraine, but especially Odessa, because this may be the next major issue across the land tonight. With that, stay informed, stay focused, stay positive, stay motivated. You will get all your incredible money from the Force Stimulus Recon, the Build Back Better Act, and the CR for Stimulus. I'll see you tonight on Evenings.